It's very rare that a dish comes with an official recipe. Bolognese has 2. And the last one came with a list of banned ingredients. What must be so bad for an ingredient to make the list? Let's find out together. Today, we're going to make a meat sauce with only banned ingredients. This is the forbidden Bolognese. Let's meet the candidates. Veal, the traditional choice of meat in many older recipes. Not as flavoursome as beef, but extremely gelatinous. A dream for a meat sauce. Smoked pancetta, understandable because the smokiness can be overpowering, but hopefully this would make up for the lack of flavour. The recipe also bans using pork only, but permits up to a certain percentage, so we'll skip the pork. Garlic is now our only aromatic, our source of savoury depth and sweetness. Rosemary, parsley or other herbs and spices are also on the list. We'll stick with the 2 herbs with the addition of cinnamon and nutmeg. Brandy, an oakier and deeper version of wine. Flour as a thickener. Let's cook. Just like a good old ragu, we render some pancetta fat. I personally like to always add a bit more than you think you need, just to make the rendering a bit more fluid. You can always save the extras to garnish your salad, just as a cooking snack. And animal fats in general will give you a slightly richer consistency. Once we have a decent amount of fat, knowing this will be our major source of flavour, we crank up the heat and start to develop some complex, meaty, roasted notes via the Maillard reaction. And this is probably our major source of umami, given the curing process it has gone through, of course, along with the veal, which will provide a bit of meat umami. It was striking to me when we were testing the older recipes how much the pancetta actually dominates the flavor profile. Given today we're using smoked pancetta, I assume the same is going to happen. We taste as we go. Very breakfasty. I wouldn't say the smokiness is going to take over. I'm always happy to keep most of them in the pan. And pancetta, as salty as they can be, they're usually around just 2 to 3% salt by weight. Given that we're not using extra salt, I think we're safe. All right, veal, let's go. Another thing that was striking, researching for older recipes, is that how little meat in total they used. Normally no more than 300 grams for servings for more than 6 people. It really used to be a fat-based dish, meaning all the ingredients, their jobs were to scent and flavor the cooking oil, usually rendered pork fat. And the cooking oil would then coat what used to be very well-drained pasta. Adding pasta water, if you thicken, came much, much later. And for me, veal browns way more like pork than beef. So we're not going to get deep myoglobin-induced color. We can afford a bit more. You can see the texture of the fat. That's what I meant by this richer texture. It happens a lot. Once it switches from boiling to sizzling, you know you can add a bit more. I think that's plenty for our experiment. Taste. The veal actually took on a lot of depth from the pancetta. We'll just let this continue to slowly brown while we deal with what I suspect would be our star ingredient. Now, not long ago, we did a deep dive on the history and evolution of Bolognese. during which we cooked about 9 recipes from different eras. The one I was least interested was a recipe from a lady named Maple L. McGuinness from the 1912s, in which she added parsley very early on to the Bolognese while ditching the carrot, yielding an extremely fresh finish coupled with a very short cooking time. I thought that was almost the highlight of the experiment, and that recipe definitely would make my top 2 at the very least. And if you ever need someone to tell you about the beautiful effect of adding parsley early, just look up a Persian recipe called gourmet sabzi, where the parsley and most of the herbs were the star. So parsley in early, before the garlic, for fat to really take on beautiful herbal notes and color. In fact, let's do a bit more. Miss McGuinness even chopped her parsley with her pancetta at the very beginning. Not just in the ragu, in a lot of her recipes. And it seems to be a winning method. Once the bright green has turned dark green, taste again. Amazing, like a really good meatball. Now, our only aromatic, garlic. I suspect a lot of garlic. Of course, with this, the pungency fades with cooking time, and we're most likely going to be left with some savory depth and quite a bit of sweetness. We're not using a garlic crusher because we kind of want a slow release given the long cooking time, well, relatively long cooking time. So we'll slice them thin. I'm almost tempted to add this in stages, just to get a bit more layered depth, but we'll see how it goes. All right, for a long time I was wrong about why you always add garlic after the onion. I thought because it was more sugary. Turns out, per unit, onion has a lot more sugar than garlic. The reason we do it, apparently, is because of the cell structure. Garlic breaks down way more easily, and that's why it burns quickly. We're going to cook at least until the garlic has lost its pungency, I think. Then we taste and decide what goes in next. Well, it's either the flour or the brandy, which makes it easy. Definitely the flour. I wonder if this would end up being tastier than the official 2023 recipe. I have no horse in this race. I'm merely a messenger, but there'll be a taste test. Oh wow. You can still feel a bit of garlic, but I kind of want that, and given the cooking time, even that will probably fade. So I think we're good to go. Now, the flour, from experience, as much as I love making a roux, this, if we add too much, will likely take over and turn this into a gravy in terms of flavor, not just texture. And even if we make a tiny bit of blonde roux, it has the effect of rounding out flavors, which is amazing with something like a Sichuan roux. But for this, I can still taste the garlic and a bit of the parsley. I want to preserve that. And given the veal is collagen rich, just as a token gesture, we add a tiny bit. Of course, beautiful fat. We'll coat whatever tiny bit of flour we just added, in turn coating each starch granule. And as we introduce the liquid, the starch starts to swell, gelatinizing in the process. slightly thickening our very fragrant sauce. And the moment the brandy hits the pan, you can smell almost like oaky green apple. Even though it's been barrel aged at a much higher strength, purely in terms of cooking, I find brandy, and for that matter cognac, fruitier, sweeter, rounder. And you can almost smell this will work so well with butter and giving you almost caramel synergy. But we're doing the rebellious recipe, so only pancetta fat. It is amazing how not smoky the smoked pancetta has become, by the way. I don't know how heat sensitive smoke is. Cooked evaporated alcohol. And I don't even know what's next. Well, we can add the cinnamon to toast. Should have done it earlier for the fat, to activate the fat solubles, the warmth and sweetness. And I like to use whole cinnamon, just like one would in a duck ragu. Really rounds the dish, hopefully. Nutmeg would go in later. Might as well rosemary. Piney herbal note. Probably overpowering. Can we do half? Or just a smaller one? Alright, now, I don't know what's next. Water. Let's add some water. No, we taste. What am I doing? Wow, that added a lot of depth. Almost too much. We need some parsley adjustment. I'm sure that will fade, but it was so beautiful and bright. Maybe it was the flour. All right. Yeah, the flour was just me being rebellious. We could easily, we should have skipped it. All right. Let's lift some fond. It's more satisfying this way. I have a sense the rosemary is going to come out before the simmer. I'm smelling too much of it, even though we only added half a sprig. Whoa, so bright. I think short simmer, just enough for collagen to turn into gelatin. Let's taste. Rosemary can stay. Yeah, okay. Probably fish half from the cinnamon out. I don't want too much warmth. Oh, nutmeg, yes. I think we finished with the nutmeg, huh? Creaminess is best friend. Okay, 20 minutes. We'll taste. Now, it's only been 15 minutes. I just want to see where we are. Still good liquid-wise. Let's see if we need to take out anything. Combination of the whole cinnamon and veal and pancetta somehow has this hint of irony, chicken liver taste, which I like. But I think the cinnamon has done its job. Rosemary can probably come out. The parsley maintain this wonderful earthy note. It's incredible. Now, the last rebellious ingredient, the nutmeg for that sweet spice. Let's just see the net effect. Yes. Yes, the nutmeg. This will really round out the pork fat. Okay, maybe that was a lot. Even the texture is good to go now. I suppose that's why the older recipes with veal had much shorter cooking time. I know this is normally a fat-based dish, but I kind of like it a bit liquidy with this flavor profile. All right, verdict. You somehow really have this gamey, irony, liver smell in the nicest possible way. Oh, it's light, it's rich, but not heavy. You get, it's a cliche term, but you really get this herbal lift from the parsley. Just the right amount of warmth from the cinnamon. Wow. As great as the 2023 official recipe is, gun to head, I take this over that any day. Phantom liver sauce goes on top. Oh. This is my lunch.